All right, welcome to This Explainer. Let's just jump right in. I want you to picture something for a second. Imagine you're climbing a massive, incredibly steep mountain. That very first mile, it's just brutal. Your legs are absolutely burning, every single step feels like you're wearing lead boots, and you're probably staring up at the peak thinking, is this even worth it? But then, something crazy happens once you crest the top. The rest of the journey suddenly gets easier. And it's not because you magically grew stronger overnight. It's simply because gravity is finally working with you, practically pulling you forward. Well, as we're going to see today, building your financial future works exactly the same way.
Which brings us to a rather famously blunt quote from the legendary investor Charlie Munger. He said, "The first $100,000 is a bitch, but you gotta do it." And honestly, he hit the nail right on the head. If you ask almost any self-made millionaire what the absolute hardest part of getting wealthy is, they're not gonna say it's making the first million. No way. They'll tell you it's grinding out that first 100 grand. Why? Because during this starting phase, you're relying entirely on your own sweat, your own paycheck, and your own discipline. It is literally all you. But the moment you cross that invisible line, compound growth steps in and starts doing the heavy lifting.
Section 1. Meet Alex and Ben. Two grads, one invisible difference.
Okay, so to really understand how this plays out, let's look at two recent college grads just starting their very first jobs. Meet Alex and Ben. They both just landed entry-level roles making $50,000 a year. No rich parents, no lottery wins, just a standard starting line. But they have one massive, invisible difference between them, and that's their mentality. Alex is thinking, you know what, I'm gonna enjoy life right now and I'll worry about saving later. Meanwhile, Ben is thinking, I need to build up my first 100K early so that eventually my money works harder than I do. Now on the surface, their lives look totally identical. They drive similar cars, they rent similar apartments, but right beneath that surface, a very powerful number is slowly starting to grow for one of them.
Section 2. The coffee shop metaphor and making your dollars work. Building wealth early on is kind of like opening a tiny coffee shop where you are the absolute only employee. The growth is agonizingly slow because the whole operation relies entirely on your physical energy. But eventually, you hire employees, and suddenly the shop is making money even while you sleep. Your first saved dollars, that's you working alone. But later on, those dollars actually become your employees and their only job is to create new dollars. Which brings us to the compound interest formula. Now, I know, a math equation isn't exactly the most thrilling thing to look at, but I promise you, this is the absolute secret behind wealth creation. It's the engine driving everything we're talking about.
Let's just translate that formula into plain English. It's basically telling us that your future wealth relies on just three basic variables. You've got your starting money, your rate of return, and the amount of time you leave it invested. The real game changer here is that surprising little detail right there at the end. Time is the exponent. The exponent isn't your income, it's not how smart you are, it is literally just time. And that is exactly why a new college grad who starts investing immediately, even on a pretty modest salary, will almost always completely outperform someone who earns a way higher salary but decides to start years later.
Section 3. The race to 100K. Ben's slow start.
Knowing that time is his biggest advantage, Ben gets to work immediately. But man, those early years are agonizingly slow. In year 1, after 12 solid months of strict saving on a $50,000 salary, he manages to put away $12,000. It's a fantastic start, but it really doesn't feel like much. Fast forward to year 5, and he's sitting at $65,000. His friends actually make fun of him. They're like, dude, you sacrificed all these years, you skipped all those trips and expensive dinners just for 65 grand? But if you were to map out Ben's money, you'd see it's just starting to form this distinct upward curve. So Ben just smiles and nods because he knows exactly what's coming next. He knows he's almost past the hardest milestone.
And then, boom, Ben crosses the finish line. He finally hits $100,000. Now, let's just say the market returns its historical average of roughly 10% that year. Suddenly, his portfolio just grew by an effortless $10,000. He didn't have to lift a single finger for that. He didn't clock 1 minute of overtime. His money just handed him 10 grand, completely on its own. And when we project this out, the math gets genuinely exciting. Every single milestone after this becomes drastically easier to hit. Once Ben's portfolio hits $200,000, that same 10% return adds 20 grand. At $500,000, it adds $50,000. And once he reaches that $1 million mark, a 10% return is generating $100,000 in a single year. Just think about that for a second. It took Ben years of grinding and sacrificing to manually save his first $100,000. Now, his portfolio is generating that exact same amount in just 12 months, entirely on its own. His money has officially become his dedicated full-time business partner.
Section 4. The cost of lifestyle creep and Alex's financial traps.
But wait, what about Alex? Over those exact same years, Alex was doing pretty well at work. He earned promotions, his salary definitely went up, but so did his spending. He upgraded to a luxury car, moved into a much nicer apartment, and started taking expensive weekend vacations. Remember that distinct upward curve we saw for Ben's savings? Well, if you look at a graph of Alex's savings, it is basically just a flat line. He fell right into the most common financial traps that catch new graduates. Number one is lifestyle creep, this illusion that earning more automatically makes you wealthier. It doesn't. Income isn't wealth, assets are wealth. Add to that an impatience with the boring, slow growth of early investing, which leads so many people to just give up or try chasing quick profits and jumping on whatever the latest trendy investment is. So when a big, unexpected expense finally hits Alex, he realizes something truly painful way too late. His high salary was really only supporting a lifestyle, not actually building any real assets.
Section 5. Snowballs and orchards. Letting gravity take over. If you want to avoid Alex's traps, you have to push through until gravity can take over. Think of building that first 100K like packing a tiny snowball by hand. It's freezing, it's brutal manual effort, and at first you can't even tell it's getting bigger. It just feels tedious. But once you have a solid, dense snowball and you shove it over the edge of the mountain, gravity takes over. Every single rotation packs on more snow. The bigger it gets, the faster it grows, until it literally turns into an enormous, unstoppable force. Another great way to think about this is the orchard effect. When you plant your very first apple tree, you wait for years, and honestly, almost nothing happens. You're just staring at dirt. But eventually, that tree produces apples. Inside every single one of those apples are a bunch of seeds. You plant those seeds, and suddenly nature's doing the heavy lifting for you. Soon enough, you don't just have a tree anymore, you own a whole orchard. Your investments behave exactly like this. Planting that first single tree is the absolute hardest part, but after that, compounding steps in to do the heavy lifting.
Section 6. The Wealth Equation and your first savings checklist. So how do you actually start planting that orchard? Well, if you're a recent graduate just entering the workforce, here is your simple 5-step checklist to reach that first magical milestone. Step 1, earn. Step 2, spend less than you earn. Step 3, invest consistently. Step 4, and this is absolutely crucial, stay invested. Don't panic and pull your money out. And step 5, repeat. Now, to actually find the money to fuel those investments, here are 3 simple daily habits to save effortlessly right out of college. Number 1, automate your savings so the money vanishes from your checking account before you even have a chance to see it. Number 2, enforce a strict 24-hour rule on all non-essential online purchases. This completely kills impulse buying. And number 3, just pack your lunch 3 days a week. Doing that alone can easily save you over $1,000 a year to throw straight into your portfolio. Because remember, that $100,000 mark isn't magical just because it's a big round number. It's magical because it's the exact tipping point where you stop relying purely on your own paycheck and your money finally joins your team.
There's a quote I absolutely love that perfectly sums this up. Patient investors eventually appear lucky. Outsiders, guys like Alex, they eventually look at Ben and say, wow, he is so lucky. But they only see the $1 million portfolio. What they completely miss are those grueling, boring, totally invisible early years he spent manually packing that snowball just to build the first $100,000.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Are you currently climbing toward your first 100K, putting in that absolutely crucial early work? Or are you just sitting at the bottom of the mountain, waiting for some perfect time to begin? Because listen, the absolute greatest advantage you have right now is time. And the sooner you start, the sooner compounding starts pulling you up that mountain right alongside you. Get out there, start packing your snowball, and hey, share this explainer with anyone else who's just starting their financial journey. Thanks so much for joining me.